What's happening, guys? Steve here, Cars with Steve, and today we are going to be doing another head-to-head comparison. This time we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 Ford Escape and comparing that to the 2020 Lincoln Corsair. Now, the reason why you want to watch this video is because you're asking yourself the question, should I look at the Corsair as an option? Should I look at the Escape? Now, before we dive right into it, thank you guys so much for the support in the channel. Make sure that you subscribe, because once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm giving away a free set of WeatherTech floor liners to one lucky subscriber. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoy the content, be sure to give it a like. So guys, let's dive right into it and figure out what these vehicles are all about. Alright guys, so we're going to be doing another head-to-head comparison for the Escape versus the Lincoln Corsair. So a couple things to point out about the vehicles. Both vehicles are in their facelift year. So the Escape's got a facelift and the Corsair has a facelift. Now the Corsair was known as the MKC in 2019 in previous generations. When it comes down to power in these things, so the Escape has one possible engine choice, the Escape Titanium, I should say. It's got a 2-liter EcoBoost, so a turboed engine. It's going to push out 250 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque. In comparison, the Corsair has two different engine options. 2-liter turbo, which is going to give you that same 250 and 280 as the Escape, and then it's got a 2.3-liter EcoBoost, the same thing, so 2.3 turbo engine. It's going to push out 295 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque. Now, when it comes down to technology in these things, there are a lot of things that are similar, and the reason why is because the Escape and the Corsair are built on the same frame, so the exact same body. They're actually built out of the same plant. It's down in Louisville, Kentucky. So, a couple things to point out about these things. We do have our backup camera. That's going to come standard in both vehicles. We've got a reverse sensing system in both as well. We've also got our blind spot indicators. So blind spot indicators is going to let us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. So that's going to highlight orange when that happens. They both have a lane keeping system as well. Now, when it comes down to a technology perspective, one thing about the Escape Titanium is that it's going to have a forward sensing system that's going to be included as a default. So we've got our forward sensing system. Now that system, unfortunately, does not give you a 360 camera in the Escape. Having said that, in the Corsair, so as you can see, we've got one that does have the forward sensing system. That system will give you a full 360 camera. So there are subtle differences between both vehicles. Just go in knowing you can get that forward and the reverse sensing system in both vehicles. When it comes down to a technology perspective, a few things as well. Let's stop. Before we get into technology and a few other things, let's look at one big difference. So we've got the ability for a tow package in the Escape. However, the Corsair, there's no factory towing option available whatsoever, which is an unfortunate downside to the Corsair as of the 2020 year. So definitely something to take into account. If you are going to be towing something, you're going to have to look at something aftermarket, unfortunately. As we can see, we've got a ton of space in this thing. So as you can see, nice and wide there. As we look underneath the tray, we've got our mini spare tire with a little bit of storage space along the side as well. That's going to be the same for the Corsair. So nice and wide, nice and deep there, and lots of storage space in the back as well as our mini spare tire. Now, one thing to note about the seats. In the Escape, it is manual up and down, so there's no way that we can put the seats down from the back. However, we do have a cigarette lighter adapter. When it comes down to the Corsair, same cigarette lighter adapter in the back. However, the seats are power down. So power down and manual up. So what we're going to do is press and hold. As you can see, seats down from there. And then in the Escape, it is a manual process. So in order to open that, so open up the door there. All right. So with the door open there, all we're going to do, hopping inside, we've got a little button there. We're just going to press that and just going to crank that down. So it looks the exact same. It's just a matter of functionality differences between the two of them. Now, when it comes to spacing on the inside of these things, so starting off in the Escape, so one thing to note is that the driver's seat is set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall. I'm 6 feet tall. I still have some leg room. I still have some foot room there as well. And even with the twin panel sunroof, I've got some space up overhead. When it comes down to the back, we've got some cup holders there. Technology-wise, we've also got a built-in inverter in the back. So we've got the capability to plug in a traditional cigarette lighter adapter into the back of this thing. So really, really nice, really comfortable. We've got our handles there as well, just to get in and out of the vehicle a little bit easier. Now, when we compare that to the Corsair, so big differences. Let's actually get this seat back up. Beautiful. There we go, and hopping inside. So you can see, I personally love the color of the Corsair. Like, this does come in different color choices. This cashew though, I love the look of it. It's very subtle, very subtle. But a couple things to point out in the back. So we do have same cup holders there, slightly different configuration setup though. Lifting up, pop it back in, lock it back into place. Now, one thing about the Corsair is that we do have heated rear seats as well. So with the heated seats, we do have, so they're going to be for the driver and the passenger side. Unfortunately, the person in the middle, there's no heated seats there. And as we start to move down, we've also got, boom, there we go, our few USB ports as well. Now, one thing to note for the Corsair and the Escape, the back seats are also adjustable. So there is, I'm just gonna hop you down there. So as you can see, we've got a little lever. So we can use that lever in order to move the seat forwards and backwards as necessary. So if you need a little bit more leg room in the back, or if you need some more space in the back seat, you've got the capabilities to move the seat forward while still having it functional. Now, same thing from a sizing perspective in the Corsair. So as I mentioned, I'm 6 feet tall. I've got that same about inch and a half of head clearance as I would have in the Escape. Because as I mentioned, these vehicles are essentially the exact same, well, they are the exact same frame, just a different body styling. So with the Lincoln lineup, you will get more luxury in comparison with the Escape. So, hopping outside of the Corsair, let's look at the Escape for a second. All right, so a few things that we can point out along the side. We've got the ability to either open or close the trunk. We've got the ability to select what's happening with our lamps. So A is going to be our auto lamps. We've got our basic dimmer switches, and we've got the ability to adjust the seat along the side. So we can move the seat forwards, we can go backwards, we can go up or down. We can move that backrest forwards, backwards, and we've also got our lumbar support. Steering wheel is manually adjusting, and then along the driver's door, we've got our seat memory buttons, our unlock buttons, and then all of our window buttons. As we hop inside of this thing, it is push button start. So we're gonna push in order to start up. Now, a couple things to point out is that this is dual zone climate control, so we can have a different temperature for the driver or the passenger. We've got heated seats, and we've also got a heated steering wheel. From there, we can select where the AC is going, or where the heat or the AC is going, I should say. So is the fan blowing to the windshield, to our face, or to our feet? From a technology perspective, we do have our Sync 3 system. That's going to give you Android Auto and Apple CarPlay capabilities. So very, very comfortable seating, very, very beautiful spacious cabin there as well. Nice little wood grain. Now, one thing to note about the titanium, or the Escape in general, I should say. So a few things. Let's actually move down the console as we go. So as you can see, we do have a wireless charging pad, USB port, as well as our cigarette lighter adapter. As we start to move down, we've got a rotary dial now. So this rotary dial is going to let us change between our gears. So park, reverse, neutral, drive, or the manual mode. Manual mode is going to give you better access and control of those paddle shifters there, so that plus and minus button. We've got our parking brake, auto hold. We can select between a few different drive modes. So we've got, there we go, our normal, eco, sport, slippery, deep snow and sand, back to our normal mode again. Then we've also got our park assist. So park assist can help us out with either parallel, perpendicular, or parallel park out. So really, really nice that we've got those functionalities there. Turn that on or off. Perfect. Now, as we get to the steering wheel, in the titanium, we do have our adaptive cruise control. So the adaptive cruise control is essentially a set it and forget it cruise. You set it to 120 on the highway, car in front of you slows down, yours will automatically brake. If they get out of the way or speed up, yours will automatically speed up as well. Now, a couple things to point out. So this one does have the twin panel sunroof. So the sunroof comes in a package. It is available in the Escape Titanium, but when you get the package with the sunroof, it also gives you a nice little heads-up display. So you can just kind of make it out there. So we've got a little display there. It's hard to see it, unfortunately, on the camera that I'm using right now, but it does show the speed. It's going to show the directions and a few other things as well. So really, really nice that you've got that heads-up display, and it's very non-obtrusive. So it doesn't block your field of vision as you're driving, which is fantastic. Now, as we start to move down, as we can see, we've got a beautiful full digital dash. Now, that digital dash is going to be standard on the Escape. It's not available as an option. As a default on the Corsair, it is available in some of the packages, though. So we've got the ability to adjust what's showing on these screens. Very, very straightforward there. And as I mentioned, we've got our paddle shifters. We've got our windshield wipers as well. So we've got our forward wiper and our reverse wiper. And then on the other stick, we've also got our lane keeping system. So the vehicle itself is packed with features. If you're looking for a more in-depth look at the Escape Titanium, take a look in the link below. I've got a full review video that I've done for this thing. And then as we can see, we can just push button start and stop. Seat slides back from there as we move up overhead. As I mentioned, this is a twin panel sunroof, so we can open it up. A nice and beautiful view there. Absolutely love it. One more button press will open it up that rest of the way. So that's the basics of the Escape. Let's hop into the Corsair again just to do a little bit of a comparison between the two. So I do love Lincoln, what they've done with these things. They look absolutely stunning. Love it. So a couple things to point out. Let's actually start off in the door on this one. So we've got our traditional lock and our unlock buttons, all of our window control. The side view mirrors, though, they are power adjustable, so we can open and close them there. We've also got our seat memory buttons. Now, one thing to note is that in the Corsair, we don't have the ability to adjust the seat on the seat itself. It's actually on the door in the driver and the passenger side. So we've got a stick that'll move the backrest back and forward. We can move the seat back and forward, up and down, etc. So that's one thing that normally throws people off. Now, one thing that's also different in the Corsair versus the Escape is that we've also got a power adjustable steering wheel. So the steering wheel is telescopic like in the Escape, but it is power. So because it's power, that also means that it ties into your seat memory. So once you get your seat set up, your mirrors set up, and your steering wheel set up, press and hold 1, 2, or 3, and that's going to lock in your personal setting. Along the side, very similar to the Escape, we've got our trunk up and down, we've got our fog lamps, we've got our selector switch so we can go to our auto setting, which again, same thing, is going to allow the vehicle to automatically determine if the daytime or the nighttime running lamps are going. Very similar to the Escape, we are in a push button start, so we're just going to press. But look at this. So much different in comparison than the Escape. It's a much nicer look. Lincoln essentially is the luxury version brand of Ford. So if you are looking for something a little bit nicer, look at the Lincoln lineup of things. You're going to be very, very surprised. Now with the Corsair, as I mentioned, they've done a full upgrade to it. But what they did is they took the look of the Navigator, they shrunk it down, and they put it inside of this thing. So it looks absolutely incredible. So as we start to move down, a couple things to point out. We do have our park assist if your vehicle is equipped with it. So the 200 pack of the Corsair does not have that. We'd have to look at different options in order to get that. We've got our basic driver assist settings, and then we've got our basic camera. Oh, the camera is showing the sky because I've got the tailgate open, so let's close that for a second there. There we go. That's better. That's better. Perfect. All right, that's great. So we've also got that. Now, if the vehicle is equipped with that forward sensing system in the Corsair, that means we've got a full 360 camera. That 360 camera will show up on this screen. As we start to move down, we've got our gear shifter. So instead of having a rotary dial or a traditional shifter, we're going to use these in order to be able to change whatever gear we're in. We've got some basic source settings. We can change the volume. We can change the station. We've got, now, nice thing, we've got, so you can see a heated steering wheel, but we've got heated and cooled front seats. And let me tell you, with the leather, regardless if you get a lighter or darker leather, cooled seats are literally a butt saver in these things. So I absolutely recommend looking at the Corsair as an option if you like those smaller luxury features. Now, as we start to move down a little bit more, so as you can see, we've got a nice little storage area there. We've got a 12-volt adapter and some USB ports. Now, one thing to point out is that this thing does have the option for a wireless charging pad. This specific one does not have it, but it is available as an option. But again, like anything, that's going to lead to a more and more expensive vehicle, because when we do an apples to apples comparison, a fully loaded Titanium versus an equally loaded Escape, let's look on the screen for a second there. I'll show you what the cost difference is between the two of these things. Now, as we start to move down a little bit, as you can see, we've got our cup holders, and very similar to the Escape, we've got different drive modes as well. So we've got our normal, slippery, we've got deep snow conditions, and then going the other way, so we've got back to normal again, our conserve, and then an excite mode as well. So the different drive modes are going to give you different functionality as you go. As we get onto the steering wheel, so this is very, very different, obviously, in comparison to the Escape. So we've got our plus and minus buttons, so we still do have the paddle shifters. We've got our forward and our reverse wipers, so our rear window wiper, and we do have the lane keeping system as well. We've got our voice command button, very similar to the Escape, which gives you the ability to either make phone calls, you can change the radio station, or you can navigate by pressing that button. But looking there, so now we've got some different options. So let's actually look on the screen for a second there. So as you can see, this specific one does not have a fully digital screen. It is available in the Corsair technology package. So not going to come in as a default, but again, it really depends on how you have this thing configured. But looking there, so without the digital screen, we've got our tachometer and a speedometer there. We've got the ability to select between some different screens. We can look at our navigation, at our phone, whatever the case may be. Now, as you can see, the buttons kind of change based off of what you're doing. Now, that is unique to the Corsair as well. The Escape doesn't have that ability, but we've got the ability to use the adaptive cruise control, and then as you can see, the buttons are now down here instead. So really, really neat, a little bit different as well in comparison, but I, again, love the setup. Now, as we move up overhead, very similar to the Escape, we've got a twin panel sunroof opened up nice and high. We've also got the ability to program in some garage door opener codes, and we've got a few other basics as well. Really, really nice. No, it's the, looking at the Corsair in comparison, as I mentioned, it is essentially the luxury version of the Escape. Whether you look at the Escape or the Corsair is going to depend on your budget and what you personally view as something that's luxurious. Because realistically, the Corsair is an amazing vehicle when it comes down to it, but so is the Escape, especially when you get into the 2-liter engine. So whether you decide to look at the Escape or you look at the Corsair is ultimately going to depend on what your budget is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this basic review looking at the Corsair versus the Escape. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them down below. And until I see you guys next time, stay safe.